Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Eddie Marcus. Today I want to speak to you the message from Dr. King to the NFL, its owners, its team, its black athletes. To you who are black, you play NFL ball, you make a lot of money. You had to go and get a certain measure of education that was almost granted to you just to make sure that you would be able to progress and do the things today that you were doing. And yet, in order for that to happen, your parents had to go, not all of them, but many of them, had to go through some immense changes. Many of them have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to provide for the family in a system that had no better way for them to do it than that. But they struggled for it. There were those who just rejected it, and by the spirit of love was moved people to go all kinds of ways to commit themselves to change. The spirit of love found itself at one time in many individuals who were refusing to get off their seats in protest of the system. But because of the penalties and the threat of what would happen to them, they got up. But by the mercies of true love, it found itself a body in the person of Rosa Parks, who said no in a minute. And by that caused ministers and people within the community to recognize the power of a spirit that was unseen, and it even motivated them to get up, to rise up and to want to do something. And they started taking their efforts, and it ended leading them directly to a man who had been trained not knowing what for except to serve God any way he was directed to do so. And by this love being exhibited and exerting itself throughout these lower countries where the suppression was, it found itself in the presentation of Dr. Martin Luther King. And Dr. Martin Luther King, my friends and sisters and brothers, is not dead today because he lives in the lives of many of us. And you can tell where he is because those of us who have that spirit know it's a spirit from the Almighty. And that spirit that moved Dr. King moves us. And we are known not by what we say, but what we're trying to do. And not only is Dr. King alive here in us, wherever Dr. King is, he is alive with people with that same spirit that motivated Jesus Christ, who says, I am the way. And that this is not the only world that you can live in, and allowed himself to stand up and take the abuse that each and every last one of us, that we are people of color, have to endure every day. But he says that whatever you're experiencing is not more than he had experienced, and whatever you desire is no more than what he would desire, but to choose, render to Caesar that which is Caesar, and to the God that which is God. And he had chosen to be an instrument of God and not an instrument of Caesar. That's what your parents chose to be, an instrument of God, not an instrument of Caesar. They weren't free like Jesus Christ. But what the system is doing to you today, by putting you on the line to say that black people's lives are not important, that people who died for taking land from others, people who died, put their lives on the line, killed, for turning other people into slaves, and these people, what they have done is the most important thing. And those who they have done it to, which is the other side of that flag, is not even worth thinking about. But any of us know that if someone was bold enough to sneak out and put a monument up of Nat Turner and others who were rebelling against the southern slavery, going into those farmhouses and taking those slave masters and cutting their heads off and killing them. If someone put a monument up there, the whole nation of white people, if that thing was supported by the Constitution, if it was supported by the Justice Supreme Court, they don't give a darn, they would all get on their knees because they wouldn't stand for it. And so this is not about anything like that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men of the NFL. This is for you, because before you are an NFL player, you are a man. You are a man. And let me tell you something about men that most folks don't know. Men are those who choose the right path. Pretenders are those who choose the other. Men are those who do not abuse others and will reject it at all costs, even to the point of death. What I'm saying about a man is that a man would love to play sports for all of the reasons that he plays. Enjoys the game, enjoys the adulation that comes from the crowd, enjoys the money that he can use to do the things that he would love to do, that his parents gave their lives so the men in the right struggle gave their lives so they could do, to buy homes and to buy their mothers a home, for taking care of them, to do these little nice things that support charity. Yes, this is a thing that everybody has to consider. But my friends, how do you get those things? Is the key question that we have to deal with every day. That a man has dealt with and made a determination. And that there is a righteous way and there is an unrighteous way. Now, what is the righteous way? The righteous way is for it to be done according to a power that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel, but the evidence of its presence is always available. It's always there. That all existence, everything that our at least physical senses can distract and attract and perceive and inform. They're always evidence of that power. And in recognizing that and respecting that, we recognize that all human existence, all that we're focusing on like right now, is common amongst us and is given from that same power. And in order to respect that power, we have to respect one another as brothers and sisters. Nothing else. Brothers and sisters, the father is God, and the mother is the earth. And all of us are sisters and brothers. God is the father. The earth is the mother. And all of us are sisters and brothers. And we look after each other just like that. We do unto others as we'd have others do unto each other. We make sure that all the food, clothing, and shelter that any of us need, we make sure that we got it. We make sure of that. We don't need a government to tell that, except the understanding and the connection of the power we can't see. Can't touch and can't feel. We make sure that we have unlimited education, that we have health care from the womb to the tomb. We make sure that. And the way to be assured that this will always be is allow everyone to participate in the creative process by having a career of their own choosing. Might be football, basketball, any of those things. Might be teaching, might be a legislator of something that has nothing to do with what I'm talking to you about today, because that is already determined. And so what happens, my friend, is that in so doing that, we have the peace, we have the prosperity, we have the joy. Now you can go back and you can play football. You play football for a team that's owned by the team. The players, they own the team. The players, they own the team. They decide plays, they decide motivation. All that stuff is done by the team, not by some owner. You are the owner. Well, this is the way of life that allows everybody to have their dreams coming true. But there's another side. There's a side that says, why should you have to cooperate with one another? All somebody got to do is throw a hatchet in you and divide you. Once you're divided, you're not going to accomplish anything, because you're going to spend the rest of your life at odds with one another. And so they make sure they throw that wrench and they get you divided so that you can stay at odds with one another for your eternal life. And in the process, they exploit you. They teach you that you can have all of these things that now they've distracted you from by treating each other right, by just having some money. And have money means that it got to come from them. See, this is Caesar's way. This is man's way of doing things. Oh, it has always been there. It has always been there. And it has always worked for a certain group of people. That's when the civil rights struggle was about, because it wasn't working for black people. It was just working for white people. Now they wanted to integrate the system so black people can get their cut of it. But that is not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is much more than that. And here is the difference. When you talk about righteousness, all that power that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel, it's for everybody. Not a single soul is left out. Because that's the Father of the whole human race. And that's what way the Father feels about all of his children. On the other side, man is God. And man doesn't give a heck about all of the children. Only gives about that which benefits the ruler. The ruler. And I say ruler because that ruler wants to be God. And in order to be God, that ruler has to have control over everybody. And so when you say the only way you can get the things out of life to survive is by getting the money, there are certain things that are required to get the lot of money. So you get the lot of money, you got to bend all the rules that has to do with righteousness. And justifiably so, because they pass laws and legislation to make you think it's right. And so people go ahead on, and eventually we have what we have today. And as long as it goes on, you find yourself evolving to the point where you are put on the line, NFL players. If you stand up, if every last one of you walked off the team, my friends, let me say this to assure, I'm telling you what you ought to know, but the solution, you can be assured that will occur because you will be playing a major part in it. The owners, the fans, the sponsors, let me say that again, the owners, the fans, the sponsors, they don't support you. The Constitution, even the Constitution, fails to support you. And allegiance to the flag fails to support you. In other words, I don't care what has happened to you. You stand up because what? We have allowed you the privilege of coming over here and to get this money. So Caesar has bought you. Now that's sad to say, but that's the world we live in. And you haven't been told that. But there's a different world that you can live in. You don't have to go any place. It can happen right here. But you got to change the system. You got to change your way of thinking, and you're not going to change your way of thinking until those who have been given a sign that God is real stand up and do exactly what they're supposed to do. Now, what you're supposed to do is take away the money from the sponsors. Take away the money from the owners. Take away the game from the fans. And let's take some time to determine what the solution must be. And then once we know what the solution is, let us return to the game, owned by the people, enjoyed by the fans and the players. But now they don't have to get their heads all cracked up with concussions or whatever they call it. They don't have to get their legs broken and all of this. You change the rules and the perspective of the game to such a way that it eliminates the possibility of these things happening or reduce it to an ultimate level. But the game is increased because now what used to be not allowed is the only thing you have to rely on now. And the crowd goes wild because what? It's different, it's new, and is as exciting as can be. Now, what else comes from that? You get peace, you get prosperity, and you get joy. And you don't have owners out there trying to tell you what's right and what's wrong. You don't have to be quiet because you are a man. You stood up. And in standing up, we're not trying to punish these owners. We're not trying to punish anybody for anything that they do because, and I know we've called them all kinds of names. I have as well. I've cursed them out. I've talked about the church. I've cussed it out. I cussed out the whole darn world because it doesn't seem to me that makes any sense that people are so disconnected from the truth. And yet, don't care what it seems to me, it's the truth. And then when I face it, I have to look at you. You are doing exactly what you know how to do. When I look at those that's supposed to be leading you and showing you the path down this dark road of life, I'm witnessing that they have no idea where they're leading you. They're falling straight over a bucket. But I also found out that they gave up leadership from themselves to a higher power. Power in higher positions of the government. Sometimes you don't even know where it's coming from. But they are directing, they are strategizing themselves and you in the midst of all their own darkness. And even it's better that they know it's darkness, because if they're in the light and they are misleading you, my. So I know, then again, as I said, they must be in the light, because if they weren't in the light and all the stuff they're doing, maybe they would drive you to the path of light accidentally. And maybe that's exactly what they've done with Donald Trump trying to make America great again. And everything that's happening around him is pain and suffering, whether it's a fire, or whether it's a water, or whether it's just people picking up guns. And the only thing he's talking about is hurting and causing people pain and suffering. Now you know that that's not of God. But that's the side you're on. I want to say this to all of you, to the athletes. You have a responsibility. You've been put in this light, whether you like it or not. If you do not stand up and be a man, you will be doing to your children, you will be sending them back to the same attitudes and association in life that your parents had. And your grandchildren perhaps will even be worse before they can even come up to where your parents were. All because we have been so reduced as black people, as human beings, to a level of totally idiocy when it came down to the truth. You have an opportunity to stand. You always do. You always do. And you're never going to be separated from the potential of being evil. It's always there. Always there. The whole observation is to see which way are human beings who have been given choice. Which way are they going to go? And yet everybody knows that what you see, what you're shown, is that what you will gravitate towards. And in the world that we're living in today, we do not see love, compassion in an abundance enough to somebody to share with it so that it might spread. All we see is, even in the movies and the television programs and cartoon programs and cards and books and newspapers, all we see is a constant bombardment of crime and violence and terrorism and war. All the movies are made to see if it can justify terrorism and the actions that's what you call anti-terrorist activities of programming to think this, while people are manipulating our minds and making us move the way they want us to move. I want you to stop for a second. And I'm getting ready to close. I want to leave you with this. There is a God. For I call it God. All I can really say about it that I know of it is that it's a spirit that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel. I know that. But I know that it exists because of all the evidence. Now, that God is responsible for all human creation. And the earth is the mother of all human creation. And that mother has within its walls, on its surface, and in above it, seen or unseen, all of the ingredients, all of the materials necessary to feed any imagination that we might have in pursuit of life. We were made that way. Not as one person, but as a group of brothers and sisters, utilizing one another's skills and one another's talents to be like God's children. I'm telling you this. Wherein that every last one of our dreams will come true. It's almost like living in heaven. Why? Because we are an expression of the heavenliness on this earth. But on the other side, there is an exploiter that says, I don't like that. Those of you who follow me, you can have what they think they're having look like nothing. And so they lift up something that kind of excites you, and your spirit starts dwindling to the point that you start being susceptible to those ideals. And knowing but knows, you say, well, how did I? Well, they come up with, rather than, as I've said 1,000 times, rather than using one another's gifts and love to make the world go round, we start lying and cheating and stealing and causing killing and war and terrorism. That's the part that we don't want to claim. But all of that exists so that having more than someone else having, pretending like you're more important than someone else, and all other things that go with superiority and supremacy and that kind of stuff. All of that. And that is why they put up jails instead of schools. That's why they get the military, the police, and all those people to back up what they know will be created, what is a byproduct of the system of superiority, white supremacy and Indian supremacy and black supremacy and Asian supremacy, wherever people are trying to be supreme to others. They put up these institutions so they can say these people who have violated these rules are not righteous people. They're not good people. Hey, you created them. They were left out. And they are the fruit of this action. But people, you don't know that, because who's going to tell you that? And once you know that, what can you do about it? You know they will kill you if you stand up. You know they will kill you. That's the difference. That is why Jesus went on the cross, because Jesus knew the truth. He was trying to show it to us. They said he came back. I don't know about that, but that's what they say. I do know that Dr. King walked in the same path that Jesus Christ. He went the same way. I do know Gandhi walked in the same path as those. Went the same way. Everybody that's walking in those paths goes the same way, and they all seem to be standing up for what's good. They all seem to be standing up for what's right, and they get taken out by the ones that say, you got to get out of here, we're not going to have it. And so I'm saying to you, sisters and brothers, this is a decision that you would have to make. You should have made it a long time ago, but as long as you are alive, you can make that decision. And one other thing you can be assured of, if you decide not to make a decision, if you think that will separate you from the consequences, I want to inform you that eventually you are going to die anyway, and there is nothing you can do to prevent that. But you can mature. You can, if you want to, turn your death into a victory. Until next time, Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. That is to say that every human being on earth have their dreams come true. Bye-bye.